Hello and welcome to the Fit for Business and Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Buddy Network, improving the performance and transforming busy and overweight professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners and consultants, along with their teams to become fitter, happier and more confident. The Fit for Business and Life podcast is all about sharing passion, knowledge, and expertise around business and personal performance from our host, myself, Martin Sharp, a 30-year change maker in businesses large and small, and Dominic Furness, a world traveler and life enthusiast, plus special guests sharing their know-how, experience in making changes in themselves and in business, featuring inspirational stories, insights, tips, and practical knowledge, bringing more healthier, happier, and high achievements to your world.
Why not follow this podcast? We are live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you are watching this on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We very much appreciate all of your support.
So sit back and enjoy this episode of the Fit for Business and Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Buddy Network. And today we're going to talk about Kilimanjaro.
It's coming. It's coming close. How are you feeling?
Excited. Really excited, I think. Why did I say I think? I don't know, it just feels like this has been something that's been on the cards. It's been on my bucket list for years, and I never really thought I would actually have the opportunity to do it this early. I don't know, it seemed to be something I thought might happen later in life, but having the opportunity to kind of come up to come and do Kilimanjaro just feels absolutely fantastic. But it hasn't given me a lot of time to think about it because it really happened in February.
That's always a nice way to things happen. So have you had this on your vision board?
Oh yeah, the equivalent of vision board. I've kind of got a bucket list of places that I'd like to visit around the world. Japan was one. We did that snow sculpting the other year. Places like Cappadocia. I'd love the idea of taking a hot air balloon over the top of Cappadocia and just see just have that at sunset. I think that'd just be a gorgeous experience to have. Machu Picchu, there's another one. And then Kilimanjaro. I mean, these are kind of bucket list items that I've kind of wanted to do for many years.
Well, it sounds nice that they're popping up sort of serendipitously in the fact that, like, I guess with Japan, you weren't expecting when you first had it on your bucket list, it'd be going to Japan to do snow sculpting. That's like a bit of an outlier. And then with this Kilimanjaro situation, just by chance of meeting, I'll call him a good friend, Pat Falvey. Yeah, like you met him at a business event and then it sort of spiraled from there. And then next thing you know, after meeting in Ireland to do Karen Tool with him and stay at his mountain lodge, straight off the back of that onto Kilimanjaro trip.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We call it serendipity, really, but I think in many cases you make your own luck, and it's kind of just saying yes sometimes to the opportunities as they come up, because it can be a position where you just go through life day in, day out, doing the same old. And if you kind of look back, if you don't have these kind of magic moments which you've kind of created in life, it can look very boring, very staid. So you kind of have to sometimes take that chance and say, yeah, I'm going to say yes to this. It might scare you. You might not think you're ready. You might not have everything in place that you think is going to be the right thing at the right time. But actually, now is the right time. It always is.
Definitely. And Richard Branson is a good example of that, isn't it? With his screw it, let's do it attitude.
Yes, definitely. For many different reasons. And yeah, there's the other one from Richard Branson is the make a decision, then make it right. And I think certainly with this, it doesn't feel like it's ever been the wrong decision, but it certainly wasn't something I was expecting to specifically do this year. This year was really all about the marathons. It was about spending the time, getting my body into a place where I could take on doing 3 marathons within the space of 2 weeks. In fact, I will have completed 5 marathons by the time I get to the end of this year. And the next thought was really then taking that to the ultra marathon to do next year. And that was kind of where I thought the adventure was going to take me. And then obviously, like you say, we met Pat in a business event in December last year, which was absolutely fantastic. Amazing chap. He's got more stories than anybody else I've ever met on the planet. And they're really interesting and exciting stories. He's got some fairly scary ones as well. But that kind of level of experience and know-how that comes with being able to collect those stories through personal experience is just second to none. So when the opportunity came up to actually go climbing with him and take the trek up Kilimanjaro, it would be foolish for me to say no.
Oh, most definitely. That was an amazing trip, and very grateful for him hosting us. Then, but I want to say, like you say, like you make your own luck. I agree with that too. But do you not feel there's a bit of serendipity in the timing of things, and the fact that like you've done all this training for the ultra marathon, and then a Kilimanjaro opportunity has come up afterwards? Because before that, you might have not been in the right shape for it because you've got to go through. You're not all the way up in the death zone, but still the air gets thinner, and like you'll have use your lungs a lot more, like, that's one thing, and then also, like, the capability of your body will have vastly improved because of those marathons, and, like, just in the head game, like, doing the triple marathon was such a monumentous challenge. This in comparison, it's not even close, realistically, just of who you are, like, this is going to be easier, like, it's still gonna be tough, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be challenging, but I struggle to see how it'd be harder than the 3 marathons that you did. And, like, if you hadn't done those 2 marathons, this might have felt a bit more overwhelming for you, a little bit more scary, a little bit more challenging, but now you can sort of, like, be more excited for it. Instead of having excitement and huge nerves, you probably are just in a state of, "I'm excited, my body's ready, let's go." So, yeah, you don't feel there's any, like, not luck, but the timing of it is good.
Yeah, the time of it is absolutely perfect, really, when you kind of take it from that point of view. But I think that's the case with many things in life, and certainly if I look back over my career, etc., I'd got to the point where I became a fantastic consultant, was being sought after for doing M&As, etc., and large scale changes. And it was at that point that I met Andrew Mason, who set me on the path of actually setting my own first business. And if I hadn't have had that experience to get to that point and being able to have all that success, I would not have been in a place to have that conversation and recognize it. And then obviously meeting people like John and Mark, my accountants. And that was serendipity, really. I mean, it was the right people at the right place with the right message, and we just had that conversation. And they've been instrumental over the last 16 years in helping us steer the ship and make sure the business works well. Um, so yeah, even when looking at sort of a personal perspective and my own personal performance journey, if I hadn't have had 5 years, so like from 2014 to 2019, where things didn't work, where I tried all the things the fitness industry had told me to do, and tried all the usual advice that you get, tried all the lotions and potions, I probably wouldn't have been as receptive to actually working with a coach and making the kind of key differences, and then learning more about how the body works. I would have still been probably looking for some of those quick fixes to make that happen. So I think you're right, and that's probably one of those other old adages or cliches that you always hear from people, which is when the student's ready, the teacher will come. And I think this is the same thing. I think when you're kind of ready for something, the opportunity kind of lands and you can see it and you can do something about it. I think if you're not ready and you're not receptive to it, then you'll never be in a position where you can take advantage of what's happening there, because you will never recognize the opportunity.
Yeah, you're probably subconsciously seeking for these things, like, you're ready for it, it's there.
Yeah.
Whereas you might have heard about it before and just completely, you know, disregarded it, to be fair.
Yeah, and I think the other side of it as well is I've been quite lucky because my family, yourself, your sister, your brother, etc., you've kind of got to an age now where actually I'm not going to say you don't need me. You do really need me. Yeah, I know, because I'm very useful for all sorts of things. Not just being the Royal Bank of Dad anymore or the taxi driver, but actually, we have some amazing conversations and things. But you guys have got to a position where actually I no longer have to worry quite as much. You're not as dependent on me. So I've got this little bit more freedom in my life that I probably wouldn't have had, 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah, so that timing's worked out perfectly too.
Yeah. So I think you're right on that kind of stage. It is serendipitous, but I think all of the events has kind of collided to say this is the right time that this could happen.
Yeah, butterfly effect sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, the comment you made when you asked, this is going to be easier than than 3 marathons. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, this is going to be it's going to be an epic journey. It takes me to 5,895 meters in altitude, which is the highest all I've ever gone. So yeah, you're right. It's not quite the death zone, but certainly it's in that high altitude area. So there's going to be risk of things like altitude sickness. That's kind of playing on the back of my mind. We're going to be climbing for 7 days, coming down for about 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, will that be the longest trek you've done? Or longest voyage of any kind?
No, I mean, we've done longer walks before in the past, but certainly
But you've done a longer walk than 7 days.
yeah, but it's longest uphill effectively,
No, but
which
I'm
is
talking about the time frame of like
yeah,
a week.
yeah.
You ever done longer than a week
Yeah,
trek?
yeah. So I mean, that's not an issue, but obviously the worry here is going uphill and the altitude side of it. So I think that to me is where the challenge is really going to come, and that's where leaning on kind of expert advice is really going to work.
Yeah.
So
So what sort of preparation have you taken to deal with this altitude and long inclines?
So for the preparation side, obviously it's great that we've got the marathons under the belt because that's kind of given me an amazing amount of endurance and improve things like my VO2 max and heart rates, etc. So again, I'm nowhere near going to be an Olympic marathon runner or something like that. But what I'm able to do is actually work to the best of my capability now, the best I've ever probably had. So like you say, it's probably the best position I could probably have from my body to be in a place to do that. So from a fitness perspective, from a capability perspective, and also, for example, from that mental side of things. So understanding what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how my brain is going to adapt. So being through those marathons, there were a few dark times, as you know, as we've talked about before on the podcast, where you think just go to the side of the road and stop and go visit the first aid station because it was quite painful and you just run out of energy. And so actually being through that and recognizing first of all that I can past it, but B, what I can do about it to actually keep going. So things like understanding that sometimes it's a fueling issue, sometimes it's a hydration issue, sometimes it is a fatigue issue, and being able to recognize what's causing that underlying problem and then being able to have some strategies around fixing it so that actually we can make this a success.
Well, that's good that you have the experience of the cause and effect of these things.
Definitely. So I think there's some definite strong points that I'm looking forward to with it. And again, there's some things that we've done specifically on the walking side of things. So unfortunately, my boots, my trusty boots that I've had for many years, they kind of split. So that was not
I'm
a
in the
good
same
sign.
boat. It's uncool.
It is. You have to kind of get new boots, okay, it's nice to get new boots, I guess. But the issue is you've got to break them in, and you've got to then make sure they're not going to rub. And
Yeah,
so
that's the thing with equipment. Like a lot of things are nice to change, like upgrade your technology, upgrade your car, upgrade your bicycle or something. But when it's like actual equipment, it is the worst because like if it like you just trust it, you know it, and then you have to get new stuff, and it's a bit of an unknown. So you've done well to get it ahead of time and test it because it's like if you was running a marathon, you wouldn't stick some brand new trainers on for it.
oh god, no,
So
no, absolutely not. I mean, with the marathon training, you do not use any gear on the day that you haven't already tried beforehand. You don't try new food, new fueling strategies, or anything. You get your way of working, and you make it work for you.
yeah, and it is the same with the hiking because you don't want to get a blister. Like we've actually had that experience in the Cleveland Way. I'm sure I've mentioned that story before, but you had like golf ball size blisters on that, and it was very uncomfortable. That was an issue of socks. So at least you've also learned that one for this.
Yeah, yeah. No, everything that I'm taking with me will be pre-worn and washed several times.
Sensible, sensible.
But so things like that is a definite requirement. So with all the kit we've been using, we've obviously been doing the various Three Peaks challenges. So we've done the national Three Peaks in the UK. We've done the Surrey Three Peaks, the Yorkshire Three Peaks. We've also done other hill walks in between in Wales, in the Lake Districts, in the Yorkshire Dales. In fact, we're going away to the Lake District to do some more over the next week or so. We've got the Welsh Three Peaks coming up as well. As so long as that storm doesn't hit us, that's the only worry there. So it's really it's coming back to that idea of making sure I've got time on my legs. Put the miles in the feet, so that we've got that. So we don't have 6,000 meter mountains in the UK; they just don't exist. But what I can do is I can try and put as many cumulative ascents in there as I can. So do like a 1,200 meter climb or a 1,000 meter climb or a couple of 800 meter climbs, and that will kind of help. So that's why, for example, the Three Peak challenges in many cases have been really useful because they've allowed me to have that kind of ability to put those ascents in, and also with some serious miles under the boot because the actual climbs itself, none of them are going to be massive. I mean, the biggest kind of like increase in altitude we're going to have at any point in time, maybe around about, I don't know, just having a quick look over my notes here actually. So we've got, yeah, so the biggest ascent we're going to have is probably on the first day. We'll do probably about 1,000 meters to take us up to about 2,000. Take us up to 2,980. So that gets us to from Moshi to Kami Camp.
And we did, were any of the ones that we did in the National Three Peaks Challenge over 1,000?
Yes, yeah. So Ben Nevis was. So again, we've got the ability to say yes, I can do that, and then from a number of hours walking, we're not expecting to do that much because the distances, the horizontal distances across the ground aren't going to be as big. So the biggest one again is going to be on probably the first day. That being about 11 kilometers. After that, we're doing maybe 5, 7, 5 kind of kilometers a day. So again, not huge numbers, and again, we're going to be doing that over a space of maybe 6, 7 hours each time. So I'm hoping that's kind of compensating for that change in altitude, and again, it comes back to that base principle that we learned from Pat, that to be able to overcome things like the altitude sickness, this is taking it slowly. It's a slow progression up. Take your time so your body can acclimatize and it can adjust at each of those different heights.
And what's your expectation of this? Like, are you thinking it's going like, I don't know how to phrase this, but like, are you expecting that going like really slow you're going to find challenging because you have like a faster pace, or are you just like accepting this as a completely different to anything you've ever done and you're going in with a fresh mindset, listen to the experts and just roll with it?
That's a really, really good question. And actually, I think this is where I'm really lucky because obviously when me, you and Amy go walking, we're quite fast and we can knock off peaks very, very quickly as if, so that is an experience. But then, for example, walking with Sarah, my wife, it's a lot slower. So going at her pace is probably going to be more similar to how we're going to go with the mountain. And again, we've done that when we've done like the Surrey Three Peaks, the first half of the walk we did a lot slower, and again kept that pace really steady. So I know I can keep that pace. It's nice and rhythmic. I don't feel like I get too overexhausted. But again, we're talking here about a much lower altitude. How
that's where the problem's going to kick in. Like, what day do you start getting to the point where you're going to perhaps be short of breath, or you're going to hope that your body's adapted? Let's hope you're not short of breath. What's the point where you're like above, like how many meters to the point where air gets thinner?
Well, I think anything above 4,000 meters is where people start to potentially struggle. And it's certainly, for example, from an insurance point of view, where you go into the next bracket of insurance. So that is a clearer kind of marker as where problems can start to arise. I'm hoping, actually, with all the training we've done, with the things to keep looking out for, and again, some of the preventative type of work we can do. So, for example, making sure we're resting well on a night, making sure we're well hydrated. So, again, one of the kind of key problems with high altitude is that people don't drink enough. And I always remember this from when I did an outdoor first aid course, because obviously I've got to keep a outdoor first aid qualification for both being a canoeing coach and also for being, I need a first aid qualification for the fitness coaching as well. And one year I did it with the British Ski Patrol.
Wow!
So they have
like
a ski school which does first aid. So I was just tagging on one of their outdoor first aid qualifications, and I always remember the guy was saying that one of the biggest issues they find on the mountains, one of the problems that they have, is that people just don't drink enough. And when you're up at like even just 2,000 or 3,000 meters, the Alps and things, if you are dehydrated, that's where, for example, you start making bad judgment calls. That's where you start getting dizzy. It's where things like you struggle to breathe and stuff. And okay, you might not be having the same altitude sickness as you will do going up something like Kilimanjaro, but all these effects are still very true. So being able to make sure you are well hydrated is critical.
That just sounds a critical part of it. And how does the hydration work? Like, is there fill up points along the route, or do you have to carry the water that you bring in? I know there'll be some Sherpas. Do they carry the water? Like, what's the water situation on the mountain?
Yeah, we're going to be very lucky actually. So we do have a number of porters. I think on average it works out about 3 porters per person to be able to make the whole trek work. So effectively, you've got the gear that you're carrying, the equipment that they'll be carrying, the tents, the food, all sorts of things that they'll be bringing up the mountain as well. And from the water perspective, there are water sources on the way up. So what they will do is they collect water from those different water sources, boil it so that it is suitable for consumption, and then basically be refilling it each day. So I'll be expecting that I'll be carrying somewhere between 2 and 3 liters of water as I'm walking each day. Probably trying to get about 2 liters in before I start. Maybe about no, maybe a bit too much. Maybe a
Yeah,
liter,
2 liters
and a
is quite
half.
crazy before you even
Yeah.
start. Because I actually made that mistake on our most recent walk, having loads of water, and I felt like I was gonna die.
And then, because again, on average, you're going to be looking at maybe getting in about 5 liters of water, maybe 6,
Mhm.
throughout the entire day, just again to keep yourself well and truly hydrated. And obviously, you've got the other side of it, which is water that goes in has to come out at some
Yeah,
point.
well, I was gonna ask before you move on, does the hydration threshold change dependent on like what altitude you're at? So, in this we use it as days. So, like, is day 1 less than like day 3 when you're at the highest point?
No, the profile's gonna be about the same. And again, I don't know how my body's gonna specifically react. Obviously, I'll work out as I'm going up the mountain with regards to how much I'm sweating, but that kind of slowly kind of pace, I'm not expecting to become quite hot and sweaty,
Mhm.
making the ascent, certainly based on what we've done so far.
Perfect. Yeah, good answer.
No, you're welcome. Glad I could do that. So yeah, so it's been manic trying to do fit everything in. So I'm still doing the marathon training ready for the Yorkshire Marathon in October as well, which again I think actually is benefiting because it means that I'm getting out at least every single day and putting miles on the legs, which is a good thing.
No, it's
Again,
definitely beneficial, 100%. Like,
keeps that endurance going. It's increasing my VO2 max. It's increasing the amount of blood flows kind of working. So again, all kind of beneficial for what we're doing here. Um, I think the only other kind of thing to think about really is around things like the equipment and stuff because it is an enormous equipment list to take with us, let
yeah,
alone
we're
what the
looking at it
guys
right
have
now.
there.
It's like super. It's really long.
Yeah, you've kind of got the day bags, your duffel bags, you've got bags to leave at the hotel, etc., where we're coming back to afterwards. Things like remembering to take air tags or some geo tracking tags for your bags as well, just in case your bag goes missing.
Yeah, because you were saying it's not a case of they get stolen too often, but they get precariously, not precarious, that's the wrong word, but they get sneakily placed so you can't see it.
That's one of the things that yeah, Pat was warning us about. That sometimes, yeah, the bag could not necessarily be stolen, but it might still be on the premises, but might have been put in a different location. So again, being able to find it sounds like it's something that he's experienced before in the past. Hopefully, we'll have none of those kind of issues. But it's always better to have it and not need it rather than need it and not
Yeah,
have it.
err on the side of caution.
Yeah. Obviously, getting a new sleeping bag, that's been another highlight of the gear
Yeah, have you
list.
tested that yet?
Yeah, it's really comfy.
Yeah,
So
but
I had to
it's
get
fall season.
so I had to get one that goes down to -15 comfort level, which means it will go down to about -30.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
yeah, and the reality is when you get up to the top, that could be a real condition. I saw some of the photos from the trip Pat's currently up with, and they do have snow at the top, and everyone was fully dressed in everything they had by the look of it. So that
Yeah,
might be a possibility that we're working with. Again, things like making sure we've got all the various outer layers. So you've got your windproof jacket, your waterproof jackets, your down jackets, etc., your fleeces, your inner fleeces, your wicking tops. Make sure you got your trekking trousers, your over trousers, your waterproof trousers, insulated trousers. Um, so there's a whole variety of things that need to, and again, I kind of consider them quite lucky in some respects because I've been doing lots of the walking before in the past, and also with the snow sculpting at altitude. I do have a fair bit of the equipment, and not only have I got it, but I've tested it and I know it works on my body in doing those activities. I think the
yeah,
difference.
that's definitely. I'll let you finish in a second, but yeah, that's definitely an advantage that you have over time accumulated these bits and sort of like got your own personal kit list because you can be recommended a kit list, but everyone's kit list will vary slightly, and you might, yeah, like there'll be just differences in what people are taking, and it's great that you've had those opportunities to work in those climates and those heights and those prolonged period of times too, so you kind of know what's too bulky and not. So
Yes, yes, I have been snow sculpting at -22 with winds as yeah, blowing a hoolie, I think is probably the best
yeah,
description.
and on those trips you've had to buy like extra sunglasses and stuff, all that are going to come in handy. Like that's a very basic piece of equipment, but it's still something else that you don't have to go out and get.
Yeah, yeah, I've got what is it? I think I've got 3 lots of sunglasses that are specifically polarized and filter out UVA, UVB,
Mhm.
um, which is quite important, you know, especially to try and keep your eyesight for longer. And when you're kind of working in snow, you can get snow blindness. So having those kind of polarized sunglasses really kind of help. But yeah, there was the one time that I broke a pair of sunglasses and I had to buy some sunglasses at the top of the mountain. They were expensive.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, you're right. So I've got equipment already that I can and utilize there. And it's again, it's simple things like understanding how I use the various different types of buffs, or with regards to some things to protect your neck. When I might actually use things like the balaclava at certain times. How I use different types of hats. So sometimes, if it's not as windy, I might have my crazy hat with its great big spikes on that people always comment on when I'm doing the snow sculpting. Which is a really nice. It's a nice, comfortable hat. It's a jolly hat. I like it. And
Yeah, it's a pretty mega hat, is that?
yeah, then other times it might be using the one that has the ear flaps and covers. So if it's a bit more windy, you might have that one. It doesn't blow off quite as easily, and also gives you that extra ear protection and things. So again, understanding when to use which ones and how it's going to affect your own personal performance. And sometimes, you know, if you're having one of those warm days where actually it's cold, but because you're working hard, for example, in this case, it might be because we're walking. You might need to have an open top hat. So in which case it might be having the buff on top of your head just to kind of give your ears some protection so they don't get too cold with the wind. Actually leaving it open so you can get some air to the top of your head and you can release some of that heat. Which is one thing you might not necessarily think of when you think about doing a walk.
Yeah, no, they're good thoughts.
Yeah, so then there's a whole variety of different gloves to have. So the liner gloves, there's the outer gloves, there's yeah,
Yeah, and all the accessories that you'll have to try. I don't know how you're going to put AirPods in wearing mitts, but
yeah.
yeah, like probably need a knife and various chargers for like the equipment so you can like document it and have your phone and your watch.
Yeah, so
And you need like a first aid kit. And I've asked so many questions there, but
yeah, okay. So let's go through the accessory list. First aid kit, yes, definitely. In fact, the first aid kit list is quite interesting because you need to take your own basic first aid kit. So I have my usual one that I use with canoeing and with coaching, um, which is a waterproof kit. Like it's a lifesaver kit basically. So it has a basic amounts of different types of bandages in there, some plasters. It has mouth guards. So it's a good basic first aid kit from what you need. On top of that, lots of Compeed plasters, just in
yeah,
case, because again, I don't want to get a blister. So if there is any kind of chance of hot spots starting to develop on my feet or anywhere, I'm going to make sure I've got one of those on quite quickly. So nip it in the bud before it starts to become a problem. And then there's a whole variety of tablets to kind of take with me. Things like, for example, we're going to have the mozzie spray type stuff. So it's got to have about 50% DEET in there. There's going to be things like your sun cream, so it's like factor 50 plus kind of sun cream. There's going to be things like painkillers, so paracetamols and ibuprofen, although I do have to be careful with ibuprofen being asthmatic. It's one of those things don't take too many of, but it's
especially
there.
not at altitude.
Yeah, but it's there if I need it. Anti-diarrhea tablets. It's something you don't really want to talk about or need, but you know, it's Texum Imodium, so it's going to be there with me. Same with things like, you know, one of the things Pat was telling me about is it's sickness is an issue you need to get on top of, because as soon as one person's sick in the group, it tends to be something that starts to spread. So even if it's something where you're not normally travel sick or you're not normally sick at heights, etc., just take some sickness tablets with you, like seasickness tablet type things, Quells or something. Because then if you start to just feel a little bit queasy, just nip it in the bud straight away rather than curtail your trek to the top. Rehydration. So again, one of the things that I've been doing a lot, especially with the running, is making sure I'm balancing my electrolytes quite well. So again, taking those with me so that as I'm like losing some of those salts from the body, I can replenish those with the salt sticks. Things like I had to go talking to the docs about the various different immunizations, and I felt like my arm was the size of a
Yeah, you did have a lot of vaccines in both arms.
yeah. That was a
All in one go.
that was a hefty afternoon. And then talking about malaria tablets, so I've got those to take as well. Antihistamines, just in case. Taking things like vitamins as well, effervescent vitamins like Berocca and stuff. So again, you can drop those in the water. It just keeps that vitamin count up because, again, the fuel that we're going to have on the trek might not necessarily be the same amount of broccoli or carrots, etc. But it'll be good fuel for getting up the mountain. But again, keeping the rest of the minerals and micronutrients in place is going to be essential just for my own personal health. And then taking things like Diamox, so or it's a Diamox equivalent. Again, I hope to God I don't have to use it, but it's there just in case. So
And the Diamox is for altitude sickness, correct?
it is. So it works by kind of increasing the amount of carbon dioxide your body actually retains, which sounds backwards when you think about it, because it's like, okay, well, surely you need more oxygen, because the issue is there's not enough oxygen at altitude. But the way to be able to do that is you increase the amount of carbon dioxide the body can actually take in. So yeah, so that's another thing that I'm going to be taking. Hope not to use it, but it's there just in case I need it. And also taking some creatine monohydrate. So again, keep my creatine phosphate stores topped up and ready.
And creatine something you've been taking for a while, right?
It is. I mean, it's something I started taking for the muscle building more than anything else, as we went through the original kind of fitness change, and then I've kind of kept doing it. And it's an interesting kind of thing. It's one of those supplements that has zero kind of side effects, and for the vast majority of people, it works perfectly okay. I mean, for a small percentage, it just creates expensive wheat. But for vast majority of people, actually, it has a good positive effect, and it's been kind of one of those supplements that's been around for bodybuilders for many decades, in fact. And there's been so many studies done on it that kind of prove what's going on there. But the more interesting thing that's starting to come out now is looking at certainly over the last 5 or 6 years is some of the studies that are showing the cognitive benefits of taking creatine, so and how that kind of affects the brain and how it actually improves how you're thinking, how alert you are, how aware you are of things. So it's a good thing to have, I think.
Yeah, that is good. Like the point I was going to raise about the creatine being, you know, how I spoke before about like different people's lists are going to be different. Like it takes a while for your body to create a creatine store. So if you were just going to right before the trip have creatine, it's probably not going to have much of an effect.
Yeah, I'd put a pin in that thought because again, there's some interesting studies kind of coming out at the moment. So it was generally regarded as being one of those things where it would take maybe 2-3 months for your body to get to saturate its creatine stores, especially, for example, if you are weight training. But there has been some more recent studies that show that if you kind of have an increase in the amount of creatine, maybe it's like I think I said about 10 milligrams.
Yeah,
Don't quote me on that. Then actually that can have more of an immediate effect, especially when it comes down to how it's affecting people's brains and cognitive abilities.
Like I have actually heard that the 10 milligram thing been like you need more to make it like effective.
Yeah,
I've heard that very recently.
They're definitely something to keep an eye on and read some more of those studies, I think. And then, as always, make your own opinion. You know, that's what it's about. It's your body. You got to choose what you're going to do with it.
But yeah, and it's also not unique to climbing Kilimanjaro. It's like a fitness thing in general.
This is very true. So yes, I feel like a walking pharmacist, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like seeing that list and hearing that list, it sounds like you're going to be a walking pharmacist. I was going to be like, yeah, we need to like segue this into something a bit more exciting than just antibiotics and anti-diarrhea tablets.
But the interesting part is you've obviously, when you look at it as a series of boxes you get from the chemist, it's quite a big bag of drugs, really. But trying to compact that down into something quite small, again, getting it like a Ziploc bag where you can pop it all in there, so it's watertight, it's small enough that you can keep it on your body, and you kind of got rid. It's about getting rid of all the excess kind of weight, the bulk and stuff that you don't need to take with you, because you are going to be carrying this. That's the other thing. You're going to be whatever you take with you. You're going to be carrying up the mountain. And we tested this out. We did the Series 3 Peaks. We fully loaded my day sack with all of the emergency equipment in, with all the kind of the pharmacy that I've just talked about, with the coats, with the over trousers, with the hats, the gloves, everything.
And that was a valuable test because you decided to remove some stuff.
Yeah, there was a couple of bits
So-
I kind of left in, just thinking actually it's almost like good to have. So things like my BB bag I left in, and my compass, because these have been mainstays of my walking days, since I was in the Scouts. So I mean that's like 40 years of using these type of things. So it felt wrong to take them out, even if they're not on the kit list. But actually, when you're kind of thinking we need to be shaving every gram we can out of this, those are things that I've decided to get rid of. And also, you would talk about other bits of equipment, accessories. Let's go to something slightly more exciting. We could talk about microphones.
Oh no, yeah, he was giving a bit of a talk about you. Are you talking about your new mics?
Yeah.
The little ones, yeah.
So obviously I've had my trusty Rode mics, my trusty wireless Go 2s for years now, and absolutely love them. They're a really good set of microphones, and they've been brilliant for just taking with me wherever we've been going, and just doing lives or doing videos and stuff. And in fact, they've asked me if you've been watching any of these snow sculpting lives that we've done over the years. If those have been recorded with those wireless Go 2s, so those wireless Go 2s have travelled all the way around the world as well a couple of times. And again, no issues whatsoever with them. But again, looking at how I could shave a few grams off here and there, we have got a replacement. So these are the Holy Land ones, and they're like a quarter of the size, and they weigh certainly about a quarter of the weight as well. So this is going to be quite exciting to try.
And the case is like a charger and everything, isn't it? So again, we've been like compact, not just from a weight perspective, but a size perspective. It's like it's all in one place. Like it's got this one bit of equipment.
Yeah,
does everything.
I mean, don't get me wrong; they're not as feature rich as the Rode Wireless Go 2, so I don't think they're a permanent replacement for those. And I think I'll definitely continue to use my Rode mics. But
it's just the right tool for the job.
Exactly. So I'm going to give these a try. So we tried them the other day, and they seem to work quite nicely. So yeah, I'm enthused and excited to see how these get on.
Yeah, no, that does. I'm excited too.
Yeah, because the other side of it as well is we've got to really think about what it is I'm taking with me, even from a production point of view, because whatever's going up the mountain, I'm going to have to be carrying with me. So he's taking it down to the bare essentials. So it is a mic. I will be using the phone as the camera.
Yeah, instead of like the GoPros and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's quite normal. Again, GoPros we use only for certain activities like the canoe. We use the GoPros for time lapses. We use the GoPros, etc. But for a lot of
filming podcasts,
we use the GoPro. I love Mr. GoPro. But yeah, for everything else, I tend to just use the iPhone for many other bits of filming, which works really well. Again, getting the Gorilla style tripod, again, lightweight, simple to set up. I can wrap it around trees, etc. if I want to get a higher angle. So as you call it, using nature's tripod where we can.
Nature's tripod, that's the one.
Basically means wedging it by the side of a rock usually.
Yeah,
and hoping it doesn't fall.
But recently mine did fall, didn't it? And smashed the smithereens. It was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah,
but I didn't have a Gorilla mount. So.
Yeah, you were not a happy bunny that day. So yes, picking that one up. So again, gone for a very lightweight version, but then there's also things like the charging, everything. So having the batteries to take with it, and those actually, even though they're quite compact, they weigh a ton.
It's still taking the solar pack.
No. We worked out that with if I'm just going to take the watch, so my Apple Watch, the Aura Ring, and the phone. We should be able to, and especially given the fact all of them are going to be on airplane mode for the vast majority of the time anyway, we should be able to get up and down the mountain with the 3 batteries. So the 3 25,000 milliamp hour batteries.
I think you'll be fine with that, yeah. And then just not have to recharge them. Like, because as you say, like once it's in flight mode, the only problem is like when it gets cold at the top. Like your battery's going to be like,
Yeah, that's one thing we did notice when we did the camping. So again, we again tested the camping equipment. It was our tent. It's not the tent we're going to be using with Kilimanjaro, but again, just to give us the idea. And as the temperature kind of drops overnight, I did leave my phone outside of my sleeping bag, which was the bad idea because again, when we woke in the morning, I went to bed with it fully charged, 100%. Woke in the morning, it was down to 30%.
yeah. And this is going to happen with the battery packs as well. Like you need to keep those batteries kind of snuggly. Like,
oh yeah, they're gonna have to be sleeping with me, unfortunately.
yeah, like literally that. So in the sleeping bag under the pillow or whatever.
Yeah. So and it's interesting in the sleeping bag there is actually a little like pocket where you can put your phone.
Maybe it's for that.
Yeah, I think these guys are starting to think this way. It's obviously the new way of developing sleeping bags.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. 2025, baby.
Yeah, definitely. So it's an interesting thing there. So lots to kind of think about on that side of it. And again, even things like thinking about how we are going to be in the camp. Again, some of the advice was to take things like the sliders. So I'm going to take my recovery sliders that I got when I was doing the London Marathon. Just so that on a night, if you do need to, go use the facilities, you're not having to fiddle around with your bootlaces and stuff. Because I did read a book of somebody who was doing a Kilimanjaro climb, and they were saying that they didn't do their bootlaces, and when they woke up in the morning, they'd noticed their bootlaces had been covered in anyway.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so you can imagine that's probably not the surprise you want to have first thing in the morning.
Definitely not.
So I think some of those bits, the other kind of things to take that I'm planning on taking with me, obviously there's all the admin side of stuff. So there's the vaccination sheets, there's the insurance certificates, the flight information, passports, there's all that kind of stuff has to go with me as well in the bags and stuff to get through and into the country and then continue to be there just in case. Again, things like travel insurance so that people, if something does go wrong, we've got that available. And then they'll be taking some snacks with me as well. So again, just to keep that energy level topped up while I'm doing the walk. So probably will be a mixture of jelly babies and
classic
and nuts and crumbs, raisins.
Yeah, so you got fats and sugars there. Maybe you can take some medjool dates, but they're pumping in Tanzania.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. What fruits are native to Tanzania?
I have
like
no
chocolate.
idea.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm feeling chocolate.
I don't know. This is one bit I didn't do the research on.
Yeah, well, you can report back when you get back.
I will report back on what foods I find in Tanzania. I'm not entirely sure how many are going to be on the mountain. Not too sure they have too many shops on the way up.
But then I'm thinking it's like Madagascan chocolate and stuff. Yeah, I don't think they're going to have many shops, but you'll be able to see the trees at the bottom, see what's growing on them.
This is true. Very true. Yeah, and because we've got the 4 different climate zones that we're going to be walking through. So there's kind of the tropical zone, the arid zone, the Arctic zone, the Alpine zone. So
yeah, that's going to be quite the experience.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of looking forward to it and just seeing again how things actually work out for me. Because again, when we were going through that process of plotting against each of those areas and saying, okay, well, actually, we'll start off in that kind of rainforest area, and the fact that we're going to have that kind of more damp, potentially more heat from the environment, the larger trees, etc., and then kind of moving up to that moorland zone, we kind of get more grassy scrubs, etc., and then into kind of the alpine zone where it becomes more rocky, effectively less vegetation, certainly no trees at that point. And then when we get towards the summit, we're definitely in the Arctic zone where we could be knee full of snow.
Yeah, that'll be quite an experience.
Or it could be incredibly hot t-shirt weather.
50-50 chance.
It definitely is.
Yeah, no, that's going to be exciting. I am going to have to be truthfully honest and say I'm going to have to get off in a second. So I am excited to hear about how this goes and hopefully do a recording of your expectations versus reality of the trip. And I'm sure you'll be able to give feedback on what went well and what didn't go so well. And if you were stood in knee-deep snow or sizzling in the sunshine.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep everybody abreast of what's going on. We'll get lots of different videos and updates sent through because obviously you'll be then coordinating those onto YouTube and things. But in the meantime, just as always, a big thank you, everybody, for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Fit for Business and Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Buddy Network, helping busy professionals and their teams become more happier, healthier, and higher achieving in business and in life. If you'd like to join us on the show or as a guest, or even actually get to know more about what the topic we've been talking about, then we'd love to hear from you. Just email hello@sharpfitforlife.com. So once again, thank you for listening to the Fit for Business Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is produced and presented by Wax Time Limited. All copyright is applied.